Closet, a Todd Mills mystery. Book 1. Author R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher Scribble Pub. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator Eric Ost. Chapter 15. She was a big gal, maybe 6 feet tall and 50 pounds overweight, and her long pink sequin dress flowed from her broad shoulders down every ripple and fold of her body, all the way to her wide ankles. Her round face was thick with makeup, the eyeshadow too heavy, the false eyelashes much, much too long. Her light brown hair, obviously an expensive wig, was huge and perfectly coiffed, and the silver earrings were massive, a collection of glittery balls that dropped almost to her shoulders. Lush, overly voluptuous, she strolled onto the stage of the showroom in red high heels, and that was the only thing that surprised Todd. The height of the heels, so tall, so sharp, and the ease with which she moved in them. The MC called, "And here she is, ladies and gentlemen, our own, our favorite, our delightful, Miss Tiffany Crystal. Give it up for this charming and talented creature. And I should add, Miss Crystal is dedicating this one to the memory of her dear friend, our dear friend, the late Michael Carter." As the audience burst into applause, Todd felt like he was being haunted by a ghost. Michael was everywhere in the gay times tonight, and Todd sipped at his bourbon and soda, gazed around the dark room. He sat at a cocktail table off to the side, a candle flickering in front of him. He looked about the small room. Were they clapping for Tiffany or for Michael? Sure, Jeff Barnes would want to sing to his longtime friend Michael on the day of his funeral. They'd known each other since the 4th grade, way before they knew what sex was. Later, during high school, they hadn't spoken about their raging desires. While the other kids had been dating and playing football, Michael and Jeff had just hung out together. They hadn't spoke about guys until one boring Saturday evening when they'd snitched some beer from Jeff's father, gotten tipsy, and put on Aretha Franklin. Jeff had started strutting and lip-syncing. They started laughing, and the truth came pouring out at last. Thus was born the feature Tiffany Crystal, trusted bank teller by day, glamorous drag queen by night. The recorded music stopped, was quickly started over again. Through the speakers came the sound of a piano, simple and melodic. Todd recognized the song. Tiffany closed her eyes, lifted the wireless and, forever silent, mic to her glossy lips, and began lip-syncing the Mariah Carey song, "Hero." Her mouth and throat moved with such realism that Todd couldn't tell she wasn't actually singing. Oh, Christ, he thought, watching that big body sway, hearing the music build. A huge swell of emotion rose from his stomach and lodged in his throat, as if she were on a stage in front of 1,000 clamoring fans. Tiffany raised her right hand, clutched the mic, and crooned about a hero in your heart. She sang about not being afraid of who you are, of reaching into your soul, of finding an answer. Yes, she sang, let the sorrow melt away, let it disappear. Look within and see the truth. Todd was surprised to find his eyes misting up. Since when could a drag queen do this to him? He picked up his cocktail napkin, blotted the light tears, and for the first time understood why he'd always hated drag queens. They so strongly symbolized homosexuality, and for that reason were so very threatening. But of course, being gay was not synonymous with being a queen. Ah, shit, thought Todd. It just didn't matter. Nothing did, not anymore. As the music rose, emotionally, Todd felt himself swept along, propelled by the memories of Michael, the wisdom of Michael. "Hey, buddy, you gotta unwind," Michael had urged not long ago as they jogged around Lake of the Isles. "The world's this big, broad state of mind, a rainbow of colors rather than the little black and white boxes you're always trying to arrange in just the right order. Just remember that." Okay, I know the lecture about cues," Todd had interrupted. "You may know it, but I don't think you're willing to accept it." "Michael, all I can say is I'm doing the best I can." "That's right, you are. And you're going to make it too." And now he had. He understood as he watched Tiffany swirl around on the stage, her lips and chin quivering as if she really were belting it out. He stared at her exquisite, shimmering gown, and right then and there, deep in his heart, Todd felt an unbearable sense of joy dance with an unbearable sorrow. All along, Michael had been nudging Todd toward a kind of greater truth. He'd been nurturing him every step of the way. He'd gotten Todd right up to the edge of the cliff, and Todd had finally, stubbornly, yet in the end, gladly jumped off, only to wake up in this new world of acceptance and find it was a world without Michael. Tiffany sang on about casting fears aside, being strong, and finally seeing that the real hero was within yourself. Yes, you find the truth and the hero, and you know you can survive. Oh, brother, thought Todd. I can't believe I'm crying. It wasn't as if these were the most profound words of the world. It wasn't as if this was enduring music. Nevertheless, the whole spectacle was speaking to his soul in a way Todd had never thought possible. With a big rustle and whoosh, someone sat down next to Todd. He looked over and saw an old queen in a ruffly black gown batting her lashes at him. Her hair was big and dark and stiff-looking, her dark foundation cracking in her deep wrinkles, and the lipstick ran all along her broad lips, which formed a huge smile. Todd couldn't help but grin back. "What's the matter, gorgeous?" she asked, her voice deep and breathy. "Got a broken heart?" "Yeah." She looked down at herself and touched her cleavage, which was as pronounced as Elizabeth Taylor's. "Are you laughing at me?" "What?" "Or is it my dress? You know this dress cost me $800. I bought it at the Oval Room at Dayton's. It's beautiful, isn't it? The material's just so smooth and nummy." She smoothed it over her knees. "Don't worry, Tiger. I don't bite. No hickeys either. Promise." "Girl Scouts honor," she said, raising several fingers and batting her eyes furiously. "My name's Limoges. What's yours?" "Todd." "Well, you know what, Todd, dear? This old queen's seen a lot of pain in her life, and I've seen it all, really. Truly, I have. And you know what?" Limoges reached for Todd's hand, which she took in both of hers. "What?" said Todd, not sure he wanted to hear this, but knowing he had to. "I understand all about broken hearts. We see a whole hell of a lot of that in here, and you know what I feel in my heart? No. This guy of yours, the one who left you, and trust me, I know it pained him terribly to go, because no man on this earth would freely leave a doll like you. He loved you, too, with all his heart he did, and he still loves you." Todd could barely speak, but managed to say, "Thanks, Limoges." Todd wondered, did she know? Had she seen Todd on TV or read about what had happened in the papers? Or did the Oval Room and the showroom constitute her entire world? Todd glanced up at the stage where Tiffany was approaching a soft, emotional climax. Several guys were lined up at the base of the stage, each in turn passing dollar bills to Tiffany, which she graciously accepted as she sang. "Oh, isn't Tiffany beautiful?" said Limoges. "God, she has such a beautiful clothes. And the presentation. Just look at her sing. It's perfect. That gal's presentation is just perfect." They sat there, Todd and Limoges, as Tiffany's song ended, and the audience broke into a raucous applause. Tiffany curtsied, accepted a bunch of roses, and then exited, her sparkly pink gown billowing as she flew off the stage. The MC came back on saying, "Isn't that Tiffany a delight?" "Yes, of course she is. And now for one of our most popular stars, the one you've all been waiting to hear, our very own, the very delightful Limoges." "Oh, fuck," said a man's deep voice right next to Todd. I mean, she said, clearing her throat and speaking with ever so much breath. Oh dear, that's moi." An image of fashion and grace, Limoges rose from the table and began making her way toward the stage. A spotlight searched for her and caught her, and she waved to her fans, blowing each and every one a big, bountiful kiss. Someone came out, handed her the mic, helped her on stage, and then she started belting it out, a big Broadway tune made famous by Ethel Merman. "Everything's coming up roses." The boisterous, showy song filled the entire showroom, and LaBauge used the entire stage, strutting back and forth, broadcasting her song, her personality, just like the very best, the very biggest Broadway star. But Todd only smiled briefly. He wasn't transported to some rosier place because, of course, everything hadn't come up roses. No matter how hard he had tried, he wasn't living the life he was led to believe would be his. There was no beautiful wife, no kids, no dog, no warm, wonderful house, and now there was no Michael either. A wave of melancholy rose within him, and the song sucked him back to Chicago. His parents had had a dinner party in their small brick house. That song was blaring. All the adults were singing along with the powerful Ethel Merman. What fun! What joy! Life was so great. Yet none of it turned out like that. Not even his parents' life. His father having died a curmudgeonly, vodka-sodden death. His mother now having a rebirth in some Florida trailer court. Overwhelmed by memories of those days and of Michael, Todd rose and pushed through the seated crowd. He glanced up at the stage, and LaBauge waved bye-bye as she blasted the audience with that big song. Todd lifted a hand in return as he headed for a side door. He'd come down to talk to one person, and he had to find him. Exiting, Todd found himself in a side corridor. He looked to the right, saw an open door, heard some voices back there, lots of cackling. He went to the doorway, peered in, and saw her there. Tiffany, a cocktail in hand, was surrounded by three others. A black queen in a purple gown, a white queen in a pantsuit, and a much younger one in a miniskirt. Todd rapped twice on the doorframe, and the conversation dropped away as all eyes fell upon him. "Oh," said Tiffany flatly. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," said one. "I don't believe it." My. Someone hurry up and dial 411. We desperately need some info on why this dude is here. Of course, they knew who Todd was. That much was perfectly clear, and from the bitchy, judgmental tones of their voices and their dismissive, glaring eyes, Todd assumed they had some strong opinions about the whole affair. "Do you have a minute, Jeff?" asked Todd. "This is our place," said the Black Queen, politely. "And in here, she's known as Tiffany." "Sorry," he tried again, saying, "Can we talk in private, Tiffany?" She glared at him for a long moment. Then she shrugged, put her drink down on a table, and started out. "Excuse me, girls. Time for some serious chit-chat," Tiffany said, turning. "Come on, Toad. I mean, Todd." He followed her through another door, down an air hall, and into a tiny dressing room that was packed with a collage of show things. One entire wall was taken up by a rack of glittering gowns, the other by a large makeup table that was strewn with cosmetics. 3 or 4 wigs were carefully perched here and there, and Todd spotted a half-filled ashtray and 2 styrofoam cups with huge lipstick marks on them. Shutting the door behind them, Tiffany nodded to a folding chair off to one side and said, "Have a seat," Todd said as Tiffany took her place at the makeup table. She flicked on the lights surrounding the mirror, looked at herself, smoothed her eyebrows, and groaned. Then she took a cigarette, lit it, and dramatically spewed out a big cloud of smoke. In his male voice, Jeff Barnes' dislike of Todd was clear as he asked, "Why the hell are you here?" "I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about Michael." "Like what?" "If you saw him when he was down here that last time." "Oh, God," he mumbled, rolling his eyes. "Listen, Jeff," began Todd. I know you've never liked me, and I know you didn't care for my relationship with Michael. The word bogus comes to mind. I won't say that I didn't complicate things, but I loved Michael. More than you can..." "Oh, please, spare me," Jeff said, reaching up to his scalp and pulling off his wig and revealing a mostly bald head. "Yes, he was down here. We talked, if that's what you want to know." "When?" "That night. It must have been an hour or 2 after you played the madman and busted all of his grandmother's dishes." What about the next night? It would have been early, right after work. He would have stopped by for a drink. I don't know. I wasn't here and I haven't heard anything. Well, when he was down here, asked Todd. When you saw him, was he with anyone? Jeff took a long, pensive drag on his cigarette, stared at Todd with his huge eyes that were further highlighted by all the makeup, and said, Jesus Christ, is that all you care about? What do you mean? You just want to know if Michael had a fuck buddy, don't you? Jeff, no, that's not why I... Todd shook his head, bent forward, and covered his face with his hands. I really screwed things up. I can't believe what a jerk I was, but now Michael's dead, and I've got to try to understand what happened. So, yeah, I guess I want to know if he was seeing anyone else. Did I drive him that far away? Had our relationship come to that? Todd looked up. And the other side of the same coin is that, yes, I need to know. The police need to know if he was seeing anyone else, because perhaps, just perhaps, that was the person who killed him. Jeff, sitting there in the gown, ran a hand over his bald scalp, puffed on the cigarette, stared at the top of the vanity, and said, Yes, he came down here. He came in just like you did, right after I finished singing, and he sat right there, right where you are. He'd been crying, and he looked like shit. Oh, God. He didn't want to leave you, but your little outburst scared the shit out of him. He didn't know what to do. I was just under so much pressure, pleaded Todd. I told him he didn't have to take that crap. I loved him. Well, there's good love, and there's bad love, said Jeff. And I told him exactly that there's good and there's bad love. And if your man is getting violent on you, then it's time to change things. I told him he should leave you. Absolutely. Frankly, I thought you two were wrong from the beginning. What did he say? Not much. He just started crying again. Jeff shook his head as his eyes started reddening with tears. Poor Michael. Do you know we'd been friends for over 30 years? They were getting ready to offer me an anchor position at Channel 7, launched Todd, almost begging Jeff to understand. These two worlds were colliding, my private life and my public. I couldn't handle it. You don't know what it's like being on television, what it's like to be rated on a daily basis. It's so sickening, being judged on how you appear. If someone doesn't like your tie, they call the station and say you're a dork of a journalist. Todd, you know what I think, said Jeff, looking right at him. I think my dearest friend Michael was too good for you. That's what I think. He was an innocent, always had been. And he gave and gave and gave to you. On the other hand, you, the original closet case, took and took and took from him. All you were focused on was your career and your Emmys. No, that's not right. All you were focused on was your flicking image. How people saw you. You know if you look good on that little bitty screen and if your fucking tie looked good with your fucking shirt. It just wasn't an equitable relationship. Michael, the accountant, kept coming up with a negative net worth. Jeff, don't, said Todd. Don't say that. Don't talk like that. I love Michael. He changed my life in ways you'll never know. That night that he was killed, I was coming over to tell him that he was right. I had to come out. I was going to tell Channel 7 about Michael and me. I was going to make things right. Well, you were a little late, weren't you? Not willing to let go of the one shining kernel of truth, Todd pleaded. I was late, but I did make it. Doesn't that count for something? Todd, don't you get it? This isn't Sleeping Beauty. Nothing's going to bring back my dear Michael. Dismissing him with a dramatic wave of her hand, she said, Now go on. Get out of here. I've got to change gowns. In preparation for her second song, Tiffany reached across her vanity, took another wig. The hair on this one was long and curled, and began tugging it on. And then she looked at herself in the mirror, saw how dreadfully sad her face had fallen, and immediately burst into tears. How in God's name could any of this be happening? Why had that Todd Mills come down here and ask so much? She only hoped she'd bowled him over with her version of the truth. Tiffany pulled a couple of tissues from a box and dabbed daintily at her eyes and blew her nose. Though she never liked Todd Mills and had nothing but disdain for what he'd put Michael through tonight, she almost felt sorry for him. But no, she couldn't let herself get sucked in. Oh, she saw how Michael had a guy like Todd, so butch, such a rugged, handsome face, and that dazzling smile. Sure, Todd could be charming, but he knew how to turn it on and off as easily as a television. Cheap. He was cheap. Regardless, this wasn't good. Todd's coming down here wondering this and that. Not good at all, thought Tiffany as she opened the top drawer of her vanity and pulled out a small telephone. Her treasured pink princess phone. Taking a pen so that she wouldn't break her long nails, she dialed a number that she had called all too frequently in the last week. A few rings later, the phone on the other end was answered by a machine, into which Tiffany angrily shouted, "Are you there? If you are, you sure as hell better pick up. Pick up the fucking phone. Would you, you bitch? Hello? Hello?" But when no one came on, Tiffany said, "Well, we've got a big problem. Todd Mills was just here. He came down here to see me, and he was asking all sorts of questions. He knows something's up. God damn it all. He was asking if Michael went home with anyone. For Christ's sake! Shit. He could really screw things up if he finds out. I can't believe this. I'll be here for another couple of hours. I'll call when I get home, and you sure as hell better answer. Got it, girlfriend?" Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.